All right, good evening. Going to call this meeting of the Whatcom County Council to order. And I'm surprised to know that I'm chairing this. I'm the vice chair. It's kind of like being the Joe Biden of Whatcom County. Mr. Brown is joining us, but the script that I've been giving called the meeting to order, and we do a roll call of members here.
Tim Ballou.
Here.
Barbara Brenner.
Here.
Rudd Brown.
Yes, on the phone.
Barry Buchanan.
Here.
Tyler Bird.
Here.
Todd Donovan.
Here.
Satpal Sadhu.
Okay, and would you join me in saluting the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Oh, jeez. Is that going to keep happening?
It's got a lag.
God, it's bad enough for us.
All right. Okay, so if you would put your phones on silence, vibrate, whatever, turn those off. And if you're handing in paperwork to council members, give us one copy each, and particularly a copy for the clerk. The first item on our agenda are minutes, and we have minutes from January 30th for a special committee of the whole, 2 sets of minutes from January 30th, special committee of the whole, and for the council meeting on January 30th.
I move approval.
Second.
There is a motion and a second, and my chair just went down. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's not a roll call vote. That is approved unanimously.
Yes.
Okay, next item, or next thing on our agenda is open session, which the agenda says 20 minutes. We never just do it in 20 minutes, do we?
Not tonight we won't.
Maybe, but during open session, audience members will have 3 minutes to address the council on any issue relevant to council business, and you'll get a 30-second notice, which is kind of distracting sometimes. But before you begin to comment, please state your name for the record and the topic of interest that you're going to be talking about. If your last name is something difficult to spell or for us to understand, please spell it out for the clerk. And make sure that you speak into the microphones. They don't work really good unless you pull them up like that. You can use either side. Just stand there. So thanks for that. And if there's anybody who'd like to speak, open session. Just line on up. And we'll just go back and forth. Mr. Jacobson, it looks like you're first.
Okay, Ms. Clerk, I'm supposed to say name for the record. Oh, Abe Jacobson. And I'm here tonight to ask you to keep the WIC program in the health department. This serves our most vulnerable people, but our most important people, which is newborn infants. And no, I do not take the point of view that after birth, to heck with them. They're important still. And they need all of the help that we can give them. And if you shed this to a off-site contractor, then the cause of WIC leaves the realm of political accountability and is very easy to kill off or ignore or otherwise allow to be atrophied. So please keep WIC in the health department. And if the health department is not equipped to do this, that's a problem for the health department to address about their own performance. But it's not a good reason to shed this responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, and good evening, Executive Louth. My name is Kathy Berg, and I've brought a few friends and neighbors of mine from Birch Bay to let you know about, we want to report on the state of the Birch Bay UGA. That's the formal title. For a little background, for those of you who might not know, Back in the year 2000, the people of Birch Bay began community planning, a process that lasted 4 years as representatives from the 10 neighborhoods met monthly, sometimes twice a month, to develop the Birch Bay Community Plan as the sub-area plan of the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan as adopted in 2004. Birch Bay was and is an unincorporated urban growth area in dire need of a plan to provide the appropriate urban infrastructure and governance. Birch Bay has been implementing in the implementation mode ever since then, and that's what we're reporting tonight. The most publicly popular and the most expensive at $11.5 million is the Birch Bay Drive project to restore 1.5 miles of shoreline to natural beach building processes and natural habitat while protecting Birch Bay Drive from storm damage. Included will be a promenade on top of the berm to take pedestrians off of Birch Bay Drive and give them access to the shore for health and safety, public health and safety. We've only been waiting 40 years for this project, and it could maybe actually start this fall. Well, we hope so. The Birch Bay Drive project is a symbol of restoration and reconciliation for our community. People broke the shoreline. Now people have the opportunity to fix it in the way Mother Nature intended. Coming behind me at some point here will be Billy Brown from the Birch
30
Bay
seconds,
Chamber
please.
of Commerce. Thank you.
Good evening, County Council members and Executive Lows. My name is Betsy Bernardo, P-E-R-N-O-T-T-O, and I'm here to speak on plans of the Whatcom County Health Department to eliminate WIC services, or as the Health Department would prefer, transition the program. I retired 1 year ago after working for 24 years in WIC, and I think I bring some historical knowledge to this issue. This is the third time the Health Department has tried to privatize the program. They made similar attempts in 1995 and 2010 when they argued they needed to do so because of budgetary constraints. The ostensible reason they give this time is that WIC participation has decreased and the program would serve more people if it were moved to another agency. Since this local drop is not an isolated phenomenon, WIC participation has decreased nationally and statewide, there is no necessary reason to believe that moving WIC to another agency will increase participation. However, over the past 10 years, there has been an unrelenting effort by the Health Department to eliminate almost all direct services. Most immunization services, the Children with Special Healthcare Need program, save for one employee, the ABCD dental program, and maternity support services that paired pregnant women with a nurse for home or office visits were all eliminated. In the case of maternity support services, WIC workers saw a dramatic drop in the number of pregnant women who received maternity support services when the Health Department chose to no longer offer them. If the Health Department eliminates WIC services for 1,350 pregnant and breastfeeding women, infants and children, there will be one Health Department program left that offers direct services, the Nurse Family Partnership, an excellent program that serves around 100 pregnant women and works closely with WIC. Ironically, Nurse Family Partnership receives half of its referrals from WIC, with which it is co-located, and WIC is a reliable place where nurses can meet their clients. Would the Health Department leaders risk crippling Nurse Family Partnership in their rush to privatize WIC? A program goal of the Community Health Division in the Health Department is to promote health and well-being of children and families. Tell me how eliminating services for children and families promotes their health or well-being. The Health Department professes a strong commitment to social equity. Tell me how eliminating some of the lowest paid workers in the Health Department and cutting union jobs is congruent with equity. When people do things that hurt others, they try to justify their own behavior with excuses to exonerate themselves. Bill Clinton was convinced
seconds,
that ending
please.
welfare as we know it would be good for welfare participants. Welfare was decimated, poverty continued unabated. Paul Ryan argues that forcing Medicaid recipients to work will be better for them. When I hear the rationale of the health department for eliminating WIC, that it will help clients, I feel I am hearing the same kind of excuses. Well-intentioned people are capable of cruel deeds. I urge you to keep WIC in the Whatcom County Health Department and to provide the funding to keep it there. Thank you.
I'm Billy Brown. I am the president of the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here tonight to give you an update on what our Chamber of Commerce has accomplished in the last few years. And I want to start by thanking the Whatcom County Lodging Tax Committee for the support that they have given us in the last few years. It has made it possible for us to accomplish some really great things. Our membership and our community feel that it's really important that the county council knows about what we're doing and understands how important it is to us to promote tourism and accomplish the things that we've done. What you have in your hands there is just a little presentation on what we have worked on for the last few years. One of our main tasks is to operate the Birch Bay Visitor Center. And if you've never been to the Birch Bay Visitor Center, I'm personally inviting you out to come and see what we've got going out there in Birch Bay. Our Visitor Center, we have about thousands. Between just April and August of last year, we had almost 9,000 people come through that door. And when these people come through the door, they're asking us what to do in Birch Bay and what to do in Whatcom County. Tourism is one of our most important industries in Whatcom County. I think we'd all agree. And our visitor center takes that very seriously. Our website, we had over 60,000 unique hits last year. These people, rather than being in the visitor center, they're going to our website and they're asking us what's going on. Our staff there is trained on what there is to do in Whatcom County. You look at the pictures here and you see all the stuff that we're passing out. We go through literally hundreds of pounds of this literature. We're promoting businesses throughout Whatcom County, Bellingham, Ferndale, Blaine, Everson, Sumas, Baker. Now, I've been in Whatcom County since the mid-'80s. I can count the people on my one hand how many people come to Whatcom County for a vacation that aren't going to Birch Bay. Birch Bay is one of the most unique places to come in Whatcom County. When the tide's out there, you have square miles of park. And I would really find it...
30 seconds, please.
Wow, I better hurry.
Comes quick.
Our events are designed to bring people here for the weekend. We're having tens of thousands of people show up for these events. I'd sure like to see some of you there. We need judges for all kinds of events. We have Kids Olympics, we have sand sculpture contests, we have all kinds of really cool stuff going on. And I think it would be good for you to be there too. I would love that. I'm personally inviting you out here. You go through our little brochure that we gave you, and there's some great pictures in there. And you can see the kind of crowds that we're attracting. These crowds come and they shop everywhere. They're buying gas, they're going to the casino, they're coming to Bellingham, they're going to the mall. What Birch Bay is doing in the Chamber of Commerce is helping our entire community, not just Birch Bay. And we really appreciate the support that you guys have given us. And if you ever need any information from us, please don't hesitate to contact us. We've got a great staff. Our executive director, she's always available. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, Billy, if you need a judge, send me an email, I'll come judge.
You're in.
Same with me.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Berner's going to sign up for the polar bear plunge.
I did that, but Pat,
I'll watch you.
My name is Robert Marshall, with a silent second L. And I want to thank council for this chance to speak to the purpose of retaining WIC in the county health department also. During these difficult times, many communities, among them Whatcom County, are finding it necessary to reduce their budgets. Unfortunately, the Whatcom County Health Department has made the deeply misguided decision to reduce its budget by eliminating the Women, Infants, and Children Nutrition Program, WIC. The Whatcom County WIC program serves nearly 2,400 low-income pregnant, breastfeeding, postpartum women, infants, and children in our county. Nearly half the infants in Whatcom County receive WIC. WIC is fundamentally a federal program with additional state and local support. WIC has been in the Whatcom County Health Department for 30 years. The WIC staff is well-trained and highly experienced with an average of nearly 18 years working in the program and serving people in our community. The Whatcom County WIC program has received awards recognizing its excellence. WIC nutritionists teach caregivers how to feed themselves and their children healthy foods and adopt healthy behaviors. The staff also refers participants to community services such as medical providers, dentists, housing, food banks, and child care. Participants receive monthly food checks for specific nutritious foods, which they redeem at local groceries. They are among our neighbors who have already been hit hardest by this long recession. The County Health Department administrators now propose drastic changes, which I believe can only be characterized as infamously self-serving to the mission of the Health Department. It is their intention to remove direct services such as WIC and turn the Health Department into a sort of publicly funded think tank to develop public health policies. The Health Department's proposed plan will cut out the jobs of workers who actually serve the public, while making up new jobs for highly paid administrators who will no longer have any programs or staff to administer, while not reducing administrators' salaries even slightly. They have even turned down an offer from the state of additional money to keep WIC in the County Health Department. Now is absolutely not the time to cut WIC from the County Health Department. Please phone County Executive Pete Kremen at 676-6717 or email him at PeteKremen, Whatcom County, US, and tell him to put WIC back in the county budget. This needs to be done in the next day or two because it is likely the Whatcom County Council will vote on the proposed county budget on November 9th, 2010. This is a letter I put in local papers, sent to county council 10 years ago. Nothing's changed except the numbers that I've recited have slightly changed some, but the basic approach overall of the health department to this valuable program has not changed at all.
30
and
seconds,
I urge you to
please.
see the wisdom of your predecessors from earlier times, from 1995, from 2010, and keep this program in the health department. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Birch Bay over here and Wick over here.
Both good issues.
You can mix.
Doralee Booth, Birch Bay. We tried to figure out how to line up in some sense of order, but apparently that's impossible for us. So you're going to just have to hear us piecemeal. I am a director of the chamber, and I am responsible for an event that is a little bit of controlled chaos. It's an event that the county helps us with at Birch Bay. It's the 4th of July event. We don't sponsor it. We don't advertise it. People just come. And I think people are going to be coming in larger numbers since jurisdictions all over Whatcom County are no longer allowing fireworks. Let me tell you how the day goes. Well, let me tell you how it happens a week or so before. We pass out pamphlets to the timeshares, to the businesses and all. Pamphlet is on your paper there, asking people to be responsible when you come to Birch Bay. We have a beautiful shoreline, and for so many years it's been such a mess after the 4th of July. We are making some progress with this. We also pass out, Public Works gives us probably, I think, 600 bags last year that we passed out. Golf carts, and people walk the beaches the night of the 4th, talking to people and saying, hey, if you want this to be able to continue at Birch Bay, you need to pick up your mess. People have been doing that. Unfortunately, they don't pack it out. So this is what happens on July 5th. We don't want all of this nasty stuff going into the shoreline at Birch Bay. So our residents, our community, the sheriff's department, the offender crew comes out, and that beach is cleaned by noon on July 5th. It's an amazing thing that happens in our community. Tons of garbage end up. We fill the largest dumpsters that Paul Resort can send out. And the offender crew picks up bags all along the road, which people bring up from the beach. And that's really helpful to us. Also, Operation Birch Bay is run by the Sheriff's Department. They show up about noon on the 4th of July, and they walk the beaches. They help keep law and order. He calls it controlled chaos. So we work hard to have the word control be in there. We're finding that in 2015, we had 5.43 tons of garbage left on the beach.
30 seconds,
The
please.
next year, 4.3 tons, and that's 8,060 pounds. And last year, we went up a little bit again to 4.28 tons. And we probably will continue to go up because we're getting more people all the time. I think we thought about 15,000 people last year descended on Birch Bay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to WIC and chaos. My name's Carol Jacobson. Like the dystopian story, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, it could be said that qualifying WIC pregnant women, mothers with newborn babies and young children, have not been primary decision makers in having the WIC services provided elsewhere. It could be said that the WIC employees are treated as no more than a current inconvenience. It could be said that the Whatcom Health Department, having shared such programs as many of the immunization services, children with special health care needs, and maternity support services, minimizes women and children, has moved away from practical direct services to visioning, and will fall into the trap of developing only theoretical-based policies. It could be said that the Whatcom Health Department has a neoliberal political agenda, privatize all government services. It could be said that without any data or small startup ventures by interested private agencies, the Public Health Department is gambling on the quality of services provided to this segment of our community. It could also be said that the Whatcom Health Department has visioned itself into the role of policy wonks and distributors of federal, state, and local grants agencies. The children's author, Dr. Seuss, called people who are employed to watch others work hotchers. It could be said that the Whatcom Health Department is a union buster. It could be said that if a public service works as well as the current WIC program, don't mess with it. Just saying.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jason Snow, and I work for Washington State Parks and Recreation. I'm currently a Parks Operation Manager at Birch Bay State Park, and I also manage Peace Arch State Park, and I'm part of the Birch Bay group on this side. I'm here tonight to talk to you about Birch Bay State Park, and the pamphlet in front of you has a lot of good information. Birch Bay was named after botanist Archibald Menzies for its abundance of black birch trees in the Birch Bay area. Menzies was on the 1792 expedition of Vancouver. Archaeological evidence indicates that the bay was inhabited by Semiahmoo and Nooksack tribes and Leunnie Nation. This goes back to prehistoric times. Built in 1954, Birch Bay State Park is 8,255 feet of saltwater shoreline on Birch Bay Drive and 1,492 feet of freshwater shoreline on Terrell Creek, which is really unique. Terrell Creek is one of the only few remaining freshwater, saltwater estuaries in northern Puget Sound. Some of the accomplishments which you'll see in the pamphlet that I handed out, I can say we're quite proud of at the Birch Bay area. One of them you'll see is the new BP Heron Center. It was dedicated in 2014. It's for environmental education, weddings, retreats, parties, and even more. Adjacent to that BP Heron Center is a new children's playground. It was dedicated last year, October. It was funded by the Birch Bay Parks and Rec District 2, BP Cherry Point Refinery, and Washington State Parks Foundation. Also, we are currently working on renovating 2 restrooms at Birch Bay State Park that are highly used, and it's right on the beach. A lot of people that use Birch Bay know which restrooms they are. We're currently remodeling those restrooms, just to give you a snapshot. Number of campers at Birch Bay. Birch Bay is a year-round reservation camping park. It has 167 campsites, 20 of which are hookup sites. We have 50,000.
30 seconds, please.
50,000 campers a year that camp at Birch Bay State Park, and over 800,000 day use visitors a year at Birch Bay State Park. And it gets even busier during the opening of the crabbing season. Community value. Whatcom County State Park's total economic contribution from consumer expenditures is approximately $25 to $50 million.
Time.
You finished.
In that pamphlet, you'll see a website that'll link you right to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Lane, L-A-N-E, Onliker, A-N-L-I-K-E-R, and like the rest of this side of the room, I'm here to talk about WIC. I'm here to, we're just going back and forth. I'm here to voice my opposition to the privatization of the WIC program. As you've heard others say, this is one of the last direct services that our public health department offers, and it should stay inside the public health department. So, like others, I urge you not to privatize this important program. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members, Executive Louse. My name is Ted Morris. I first came to Birch Bay in 1980 as a park ranger, and I've been attracted to this corner of Washington State ever since. I manage Birch Bay State Park. Jason did a great job talking about that. One of the organizations that I volunteer with, though, is the Blaine Birch Bay Park and Recreation District Number 2. I was chair of the commissioners for 7 years, and now I hold the director's position. All of the commissioners and my position are all volunteer positions. The district was created in 1979 as the Northwest Park and Recreation District with the boundaries of the Blaine School District minus Port Roberts because they have their own park district. It was dormant from 1986 to 2006. They couldn't pass a levy. We resurrected it. A couple of us got elected as commissioners in 2006, and we resurrected it then. We passed our first operating levy in 2007. We've partnered with the City of Blaine, Whatcom County, and other entities to make our tax dollars go further. We've built 3 playgrounds, trails, kayak launch, pavilion for the Blaine Boys and Girls Club, activity center at the Bay Horizon County Park, where we put on many classes and programs. The district has gained the support of the community over the past 11 years, and our 6-year operating levy last November passed with a 71% yes vote. We currently are working on a trail connecting Birch Bay and Blaine. For about 4 or 5 years, I've been working on it. We're making progress. We're getting some easements. We hope to maybe start construction in 2020, actually. We're also partnering with the Whatcom Land Trust to create a small park on 11 acres at the mouth of California Creek as it enters Drayton Harbor. And it'll be a small park as well as a point to serve as a trailhead for the connecting trail. On another note, in Birch Bay, I want to talk a little bit about the Birch Bay Beach Park. For lack of a better name right now, that's kind of what we're calling it. This property's been on our radar for 10 years and finally came up for sale a few years ago. Whatcom County purchased it, and we really want to thank you for that. It'll be a wonderful addition to Birch Bay and the county. There's been some public meetings held, and a preliminary master plan has been created. The Blaine Birch Bay Park and Recreation District is maintaining the 4-acre site as the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce is holding some of their functions and things on it until we can improve it. We're currently working on funding for development with a grant, hopefully from the Recreation Conservation Office. This park will be a wonderful addition to the Whatcom County Park System and will be a big draw for county residents and other visitors. Thanks again for your support.
Thank you.
name is Christina Drake, and I don't have any numbers or statistics or anything like that, but I have kids who have used the WIC program, one right here, and that girl up there with the baby. 20 years ago, I had her prematurely and never could have got through it without WIC. Not just the help from the overly expensive formula, but the people at WIC calling and checking and helping me through with support that I didn't have from my family, which I got this time as well. When you move something into, when you unprivatize it, or when you privatize it, or whatever you guys are doing, it loses something. And it loses the, like, the support, like the feeling that you get. Like when I walk into the WIC office, I know that I'm not just a patient or a client, or I can go in there and ask them just to weigh my kid or for help with breastfeeding, and they're not like trying to push me out because they have to get somebody else in, or they have another program to serve or anything like that. And I just wanted to put a face. I've never worked there. I've never, I have no other interest in the fact that I'm a person. Like, he's a person, she's a person, and we are the people. We are the people who benefit from this program, and we benefit from the program's location and the people who work there, and I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm just here begging you guys not to change this program. Like, the program is maybe not perfect. It was a lot different when my daughter was younger. There was a lot more services in that place where I got a nurse to come to the house and stuff like that and help that I could have used this time around. But it's good. It doesn't need to go anywhere. So thank you for listening. This is Thiessen. He's on WIC. Couldn't eat without it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Holly Faustic. That's spelled Faulstic. And I'm a stormwater program specialist for Whatcom County Public Works. My job is to support the Birch Bay Watershed and Aquatic Resources Management District, also known as BBWARM. The stormwater program is focused on protecting water quality and minimizing stormwater impacts in the Birch Bay watershed. And I'm here tonight to share some exciting news that occurred earlier this year in Birch Bay, which is one of the most popular clamming beaches in the state. On January 16th, the Washington Department of Health lifted the shellfish harvesting closure on 129 acres of shellfish beds that had been closed for over 10 years due to pollution in Terrell Creek. Years of hard work and collaboration by community members, nonprofit organizations, and local government resulted in water quality improvements in Terrell Creek and made this reopening possible. Terrell Creek is the largest tributary into Birch Bay, and the area near the mouth was closed year-round to shellfish harvesting due to high counts of fecal coliform in the creek, which are an indicator of animal or human wastes in the water. Community efforts to protect water quality in Birch Bay began before the shellfish harvesting closure. Water quality protection and improved stormwater management were primary concerns addressed by the Birch Bay community members starting in 2004. At the same time, Whatcom MRC member and Birch Bay resident Jerry Larson initiated efforts to recover healthy shellfish populations in Birch Bay through clam surveys and water quality monitoring. Additional efforts by Whatcom County, Whatcom Conservation District, the Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association, and other partners to find and eliminate sources of pollution led to the success of this decade-long effort. The BBWARM district was created in 2007 in response to community concerns about water quality, flooding, and loss of aquatic habitat in the Birch Bay watershed. This district has been constructing stormwater capital improvement projects to assist with drainage problems and stormwater treatment, as well as hosting many workshops and events to help community members find solutions to drainage and water quality problems. Examples of the actions taken to reduce human waste have included evaluation and repair of septic systems and consistent use of marina pump-out stations. Bacteria pollution from animal waste has been reduced through fencing farm animals out of waterways, managing manure in pastures and storage areas, planting shrubs and trees along creek banks, and picking up pet waste. The BB Warm program
30
and
seconds,
community
please.
volunteers support this effort by maintaining and supplying 11 pet waste bag dispensers along Birch Bay Drive. We're planning a ribbon-cutting celebration, if you will, in conjunction with the Birch Bay Beach Fest and Feast on June 2nd at Birch Bay State Park. We'll also be unveiling a brand new set of interpretive signs honoring Jerry's journey at that time, and we really hope that you will join us in celebrating this community success. Thank you.
Is there a place to get more information on your ribbon
On
cutting?
the celebration?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Whatcom County website, if you just search for BB Warm, it'll come up and it's the first event listed on there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Cruz, C-R-U-S-E, and I'm wanting to go to Birch Bay. This isn't the first time, I know, this isn't the first time I have spoken before the council. The last time was on behalf of the employees at my workplace. Today I'm here to speak on the behalf of the WIC employees at Whatcom County Health Department. And again, I thank you for the opportunity. A little over 1 year ago, my employer decided to outsource jobs by partnering with an established company so they could better serve our community with more resources, convenience, and technology. To that end, more than 20 of my coworkers were let go. The jobs those people lost were good-paying, benefited union jobs, something this community really needs. I don't believe that our community is better served because they have outsourced these jobs. In fact, I feel a sense of loss whenever I think about the sale of Peace Health Labs to Quest. I don't believe that taking the people who know how to do the job, do it the best, and replacing them with something else is ever a good idea. Please reconsider your plans to outsource the WIC program.
Good evening. My name is Ian Buchanan. It's I-A-I-N. And I am, well, first of all, thank you for your time. I'm coming here to represent the water slides as one of the major anchors and economic drivers in Birch Bay. A lot of people don't know that the park has been there for 35 years. And there's a lot that we have been doing with the community in collaboration with the chamber and other businesses in the area. We've seen significant growth, and it's really cool to see everybody coming together and support us. I wanted to share some numbers that we think are pretty spectacular. We had a great year last year. We saw 59,000 people come through our gates. And that was our highest on record, and we continue to grow each year. We believe that's through our own marketing, but more of the tourists that were driving to that area with collaboration with the chamber and their events and everything that they do to help promote us. We honestly couldn't be there if we didn't have that support. You know, we are more than just a water park. We really view ourselves as a community park in a lot of ways because we have so much support each summer coming to help us out. We also have 3,000 students from Whatcom County come through the park within the first couple months. And I wanted to mention those 59,000 people that went through. That's in 2.5 months. So that's a lot of people that are driving to Birch Bay. And we're happy to have them. And we also hold a number of great events. We've had partnerships with Northwest Park and Rec. We also hosted a family night for Whatcom County Police Department and the fire departments to come out and support their family. And we had donations from Billy Brown and the Chamber to make that happen. It was a really great event. We expected 50 people to show up. We had 200, and we hope to continue that. We also
30
employ...
30 seconds, please.
Okay. We also employ 70 local youth, and many of those are local kids that are coming for their first job. We have a mixture of Western Washington students that we love to have and Whatcom County students, but a lot of them come for high school, and instead of the barriers, they want to come work for the Birch Bay water slides. And I'd like to stress that it really is the community that keeps us going, and as we continue to thrive as a major
Time.
destination. Thank you.
I grieve for what is happening in our world today. In the empire, I'm calling it
Can
empire.
you state your name before?
Oh, Marshal Easter, I live in Bellingham. And an Old Testament expert theologian calls it empire. And one of the significant characteristics of empire is the commodification of everything. And that's what we're seeing in our world. It's being turned over and turned into for-profits, being run by for-profits, things that, you know, should be human rights are turned over to corporations, and people are becoming so alienated, and sometimes I think the more violence we see in the world is coming from more alienation. There's no human contact. In schools, they place students now in classes that are all on a computer. They don't work with a teacher. They don't work with each other. And WIC needs to be present in young women's lives. I mean, it needs to be here so that there's face-to-face contact, you can ask questions, and there is a warmth and a love that is established that gives people a sense of security so that they can try to live their lives, so that they can stand up for things that are unjust and speak out because they feel safe. I don't feel safe in this society, and, you know, it's just so sad because it doesn't have to be this way. We could take care of one another. And, you know, the first thing that goes when a business takes over something is cutting costs, and that's employees, labor. And so, like it was said, we are losing good paying jobs, but also, you know, who makes all the money? Someone clicks on a computer and they make $1 million. Healthcare workers and social workers, you know, work for barely minimum wage and have to go out and get food stamps themselves. The trauma involved on both sides is outrageous, and our society is showing the signs of deep trauma and illness. And I am so sad. And it's said that grieving is the first step for resistance. You have to grieve publicly, you have to wail and pull your hair
30
out.
seconds, please.
And that's where we're at right now. And I hope you will do something.
Good evening. I'm Jesse Creydt, C-R-E-Y-D-T, from Birch Bay. I have previously served as a director of the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce. I'm the executive director of Touchstone Health Clinics. And I'm speaking today as the president of the Healthy Youth Coalition, Blaine, Birch Bay, and North County. The Healthy Youth Coalition's mission is to connect community stakeholders, partners, and individuals to cultivate awareness and create short and long-term action plans to build a healthier community. There is a need in our community to work collaboratively as a coalition because the need is greater than one entity can provide alone. Around 50% of our school district is eligible for free and reduced lunch, and unfortunately, it's cheaper and easier for our youth to find an unsupervised home with drugs and alcohol
than it is to play sports or participate in healthy activities. As you can see on the second page of your handout, there's a mental health crisis, and the last graph on that page indicates 14% of our 8th graders report attempting suicide. That means in every 8th grade class of 22 kids, 3 of those kids have attempted to die by suicide. Countywide, roughly 1 out of 10 kids attempts to die by suicide, and 1 out of 5 kids has been sexually assaulted or abused, and 1 out of 5 kids goes hungry. This is why the Healthy Youth Coalition is leading the way to start making a difference in the lives of our youth. Josh Shipp said, "Every kid is one caring adult away from a success story." The Healthy Youth Coalition of North County has started to listen to our youth and is now connecting these kids to services and programs that will help enrich their lives and connect them to the community. The Healthy Youth Coalition has started meaningful conversations within families and communities and within organizations to help focus everyone around the needs of our youth. On the next page of your flyer, you'll see the Teen Night, which is every Saturday night, and the coalition has been successful in providing youth with a free meal and meaningful activities, while partnering with other organizations in the community to provide safe places for our youth to go. The coalition has partnered with the Blaine Birch Bay Parks and Rec District to provide scholarships and healthy recreational activities. The Healthy Youth Coalition has engaged supportive adults and brought
30
stakeholders,
seconds,
community
please.
partners, business organizations, and government representatives together to work collaboratively to make decisions that can start impacting our youth today. Our next meeting is on Thursday at the Pizza Factory in Blaine. I hope you can make it. Thank you.
Jesse, what time? What time's the meeting?
6 p.m.
Thanks.
Howdy, my name's Keith Allesee. Allesee spelled A-L-E-S-S-E. I'm a Birch Bay business owner and a member of the Friends of the Birch Bay Library. We started out as a little subcommittee off the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce in the early 2005 with a group of us just trying to get together to figure out what we could do to improve library services to the Birch Bay community. We had a bunch of ideas. We thought, okay, we'll get a bunch of little free libraries all set up by community members all networked together. We'll go ahead and we got one of those set up at the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce Visitor Information Center. We also took and went to community events and tried to do what we could build community support for it and find people who'd be interested in engaging in the process. And we kind of did things like touring around the Bay to try and figure out what areas could possibly be a good location for another bookmobile stop, or maybe an express library, or maybe someday a full-fledged branch library. And we also did what we could to start lobbying Whatcom County Library System to help and improve our services. So we started sending our members to their monthly board meetings and pointing out things like, hey, the Birch Bay community sends like roughly $550,000 a year to the Whatcom County Library System, and we love our bookmobile stop, but we'd love to have more as well. And I gotta say, we were really pleased with the response we got from the Whatcom County Library System. They were just looking for community members who they could partner with to try and improve services out to our area. And Christine Perkins, their executive director, did a great job. She hauled a bunch of us around a whole bunch of the branch libraries around Whatcom County and took a look at what other communities had done to build their libraries so that we'd have a better feel for what it was gonna take to do it ourselves. And and when the vote house, you see in the picture there, came available as a possible site for the library, the Whatcom County Library System did a really good job of a diligent process that let them evaluate the property in the end, and that kind of culminated with them actually acquiring the property in April of 2017. Super exciting prospect. We've now are in the phase where we've got the Whatcom County Library System is doing a building committee, design committee, and we've got members who are participating in that. And when we get the output from that design process, that'll give us a much better feel for what it is that we're going to need to do as a community. How much money do we need to raise?
30
what
seconds,
actions
please.
do we need to accomplish to be able to kind of build out the vision of a library in Birch Bay. And so we're very excited about all that. We were going to have one of our other members is from the Friends of the Birch Bay Library, FOBL, as we call ourselves. Terry is one of our development committee members, and she'll tell you a little bit more about what we got going on. Thanks a bunch for your time and attention.
Hi, my name is Terry. I live on Lummi Island, and I kind of classify myself as a Birch Bay groupie. I just love working with these people, and they get jobs done. I've been on the development committee for the new Birch Bay library system, and Pat Jones was going to speak. He's the chairman, but he's sick, so that's me. I'm Pat Jones today. As previously noted, with a population of 8,500 people, there are many essential services that the Birch Bay community should have, and a public library is one of those. The citizens of this community are ready to make the Birch Bay Vote Community Library a reality. The need for a library is magnified by the fact that Birch Bay does not have a school. It depends upon the Blaine School District to provide this vital and important service. When you add the fact that 60% of the students attending Blaine schools come from the Birch Bay community, you have to ask, are we really serving the needs of our children? Community libraries are much more than merely a place for books. They are a place of engagement for school children in the sights and sounds of the world, in the comfort and the safety of services close to their home. Libraries enhance the lives of senior citizens with the access to information and the opportunities to engage with others, to learn, socialize, and volunteer. Libraries enable tourists and other visitors to learn more about the new place of forests and the Salish Sea. Libraries enhance toddlers with the world of storybooks. A survey of local residents conducted by the Whatcom County Library System received an overwhelming response that indicated that over 80% of the local residents would welcome and use a local library and would lend their financial support to make it a reality. The current estimated cost to build this library is $3.5 million. The effort to raise this money is underway, beginning with the Friends of the Birch Bay Library, forming a development committee to oversee this task. The development committee has begun by first taking the time to learn the steps of and understand the mechanics of developing and implementing a capital fundraising campaign of this nature. This begins by building relationships with local businesses, citizens, and other interested parties that will assist them in this endeavor. The Development Committee is working in a close relationship with the Whatcom County Library System and the Whatcom County Library Foundation, as well as other interested partners to build a campaign that will stand the test of time.
30 seconds, please.
Leading to its ultimate success in building the Birch Bay Vote Community Library. With that said, I am now asking that the Whatcom County Council to give its written endorsement of this project, which is so needed and will provide so many benefits to not just the citizens of Birch Bay, but all of Whatcom County. Thank you, Pat Jones, Chair of the Development Committee of the Friends of Birch Bay Library. Thank you to the County Council for giving us this opportunity. I think I'm the finale. And thank you to Executive Laus.
Terry, and Jesse, I'm curious, where do you go to donate? It says that you're accepting donations. How are donations made? Where are they made?
They're made through the Whatcom County Foundation website. Is that correct?
The Library Foundation's website?
Yeah, the Whatcom County Library Foundation website.
Okay, and is that the 3.5 million? It goes towards that number?
Well, what we're aiming for, that we have 5 years to get 1.4 million. And then that will show the Whatcom County Library System and the Foundation that the community is serious about all of this, and we are working closely with several organizations, including BP. We're talking about potential of a matching grant. And then after that, we have stages to achieve the balance of it.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name's Kevin Vanderhorst, and I'm representing four-wheel drive recreation in Whatcom County, specifically the DNR Recreation Planning Committee. As you well know from last committee, the last meeting's just about record length. That was a late night. I'm here because I understand there's still a lot of questions and a lot of misunderstandings regarding the processes. I'm here asking the council to invite the DNR back for a educational presentation, specifically Glenn Glover, who is the most knowledgeable of all of the processes in relation to the questions that were asked that were unanswered 2 weeks ago. I was going to go into a lot of detail about the funding process that the DNR has. I can touch on that just a little bit. I do know, and I found out just today, that last biennium, the RTP, which is a federal grant process, there was $500,000 left on the table because there was no regulated recreation site to allocate that money toward. The NOVA grants, there are potentially up to $13 million available this biennium, and with the latest gas tax increase, there is potentially up to another $4 million the next biennium. The capital funding, there's DNR. What DNR also has a capital funding grant process that is available for recreation of all sorts. And back in 2009, when going back to the NOVA grant funding, when the NOVA grants lost the funding to the general, to the parks, I'm sorry, there was a 2-year litigation process which ultimately motorized representation did win back
30
that,
seconds,
but there
please.
was only 5.5 million of the 9.1 that was lost to that. However, with a lot of local, with respect to Walker Valley, there was a lot of local contributions and time donated that helped keep Walker Valley open during that time when the funds were short. They were able to appropriate funds through the RTP or the federal grant process to continue to have the education and enforcement on ground, also to keep the employment there on site. So I do thank you for your time, but I do encourage you to please invite the DNR back for a more in-depth presentation. Thank you.
Kevin, do you know?
Oh,
no,
Glenn Glover is who you're?
Glenn Glover specifically is who I would like to see back to present.
I was curious, do you know how much, and maybe I missed this, it takes to manage the Walker Valley site, or how much they spend per year there?
Well, every biennium, they apply for funding, and it varies depending on the needs that they project for that 2-year biennium. It could roughly be from anywhere from $150 that I've seen in the process, $1,000 for continued management to up to 300. And some of that is also pulled from the capital grant process that the DNR has within its own organization. So there's even more money potentially available there through that process. So,
do you have any information about accidents and kind of what's take? I asked, I believe, if I remember my questions correctly, that I asked DNR this. Is there any information about the number of accidents that happen kind of there versus what we've seen, or? There is, and actually I have another person here that would be willing, that will speak on that, because it kind of ties in with that, so, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
You'll get that here momentarily. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lance Hansen. I'm here to speak about the ORV community again. I represent a local ORV club with over 200 members now, Since all this awareness has come up about this, we've actually grown by 35 members in the last 2 weeks alone. So I want to ask the council to invite the DNR back to answer all your questions that were not answered in your meeting with them the other day, and specifically Glenn Glover, who's a recreation manager for the DNR in the state. I also want to address, to answer some of those questions, Walker Valley and Reeder ORV area in Snohomish County. Since they were formed, they have monthly committees that meet with about, I know the Walker Valley one has about 20 to 25 community members. It's just not just the ORV community. They have the engineers from the DNR there. They discuss any issues in the park. They arrange garbage cleanups. They arrange maintenance. Volunteer groups go out and do education enforcement, and they meet monthly. So even if an ORV area is formed, the DNR has always formed committees, citizen committees, to ongoing working with it, and they also work with those funds that are given to them, and also work on trail design and talk about projects that need to be done or concerns out there. Also, I've been on the Baker to Bellingham DNR committee for 2 years, and I joined the committee because we have nowhere to ride. But the committee, when we've talked about ORV, we have discussed the concerns. For example, there is a noise limit. It's actually in DNR laws. I believe it's 90 decibel limit. Also, another thing we've discussed, that right in the first 2 meetings of the planning committee, there's supposed to be a 1,000-foot buffer between any trail, period, between DNR land and any private land. Also, we discuss access from public roads. We need to have true public access because they don't want to use easements. We have to have direct access and to limit it near people's residence. This is all stuff that this committee's been discussing for 2 years. Also, there were public meetings in January of 2016 at the Bellingham Ferry Terminal down here. There was 450 people, and up in Linden, I believe there were 200 or 300 people before this process even started, and that's how I found out how to apply for
30
it.
seconds, please.
So, and then they also had some meetings last February, I believe at Bellingham Technical College, where I believe 300 or 400 people showed up. So there has been quite a bit of community involvement and awareness of this committee. So we're here just to ask you guys to please let the ORV community work with you guys and the DNR together. Just one last comment. There's been some comments, there's no cell service up Sumas Mountain and Red Mountain. I've been doing stuff up Sumas Mountain my whole life. I've had 2 different cell phone companies. I have full service from the bottom to the top. All right, thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dean Crosswhite from Ferndale. I'm here as well to talk about the ORV community and to ask you to invite Glenn Glover from the DNR back to give a more comprehensive presentation to you. I don't think it was quite complete. I was actually here last week. I'm with the fire department. I'm an assistant chief, and I got a call and I had to leave. I got done about 10 o'clock, and instead of coming back here, I decided to go home. And to my surprise, you guys were still on the web, and the meeting went to what, 12:30, 1 o'clock? I guess I could have made it back. So apologize for not getting back. I didn't dream you guys would be up that late. So I hope it doesn't happen all the time to you guys. But one of the things I did do when I watched those testimonials there on YouTube is that there's a lot of misinformation, especially when it comes to the fire and EMS field, and that's what I do. Some of the statements that were made to me were just false and inaccurate. So the first thing I did was call up the Chief Fire District 1 and Fire District 14. Those are the surrounding fire districts around Sumas Mountain. Now, what happens in these DNR lands is there's what they call no man's land. They don't really belong to a fire district, but wherever the 911 call comes into, those are the districts that do respond. And so these are these responses into the no man's land. And that's pretty much those 2 fire districts alone. Talking to both those chiefs, they saw no issue whatsoever in creating a systematic plan for recreation in that area. Matter of fact, the 2 biggest issues that they had with Sumas Mountain in particular was locating people and also access problems. So people go up there, they don't know where they're at. They don't know that they're on this trail or that trail. When you put a system together like at Walker Valley, all the trails are named, there's locations, there's even GPS waypoints. So that to them is a huge benefit, and they would be very much for a system in place like that. There's also access roads that are put in, so that it's easier to access these incidents that happen. And overall, they didn't give me an exact number, and I can come up with it for you, but the number of incidents up there on Sumas Mountain and in those DNR areas is actually very small. And they're very well equipped to handle those types of situations. Between them and the Whatcom County Search and Rescue on larger incidents, those who actually respond to those types of calls. Down in Walker Valley, Big Lake Fire Department covers that, and I'm looking at getting numbers for that, and I can do a kind of comprehensive report for you guys on the type of calls they go to, how many they go to. The fire department down there that goes to those calls, they have about 300 calls a year. Districts 1 and 14, they're much larger.
30 seconds,
They run about
please.
2,500 calls a year. They're very much, very better equipped to handle those type of calls that would happen up there on Sumas Mountain. One of the stats I was able to pull up was through dispatch. You can find out where the calls were, what types they were. Last year in 2017, hiking incidents, there were 24 calls that required EMS services. Skiing incidents outside of the Baker area, there were 6 EMS calls, and ORV calls, there was 4 in Whatcom County last year. So
Time.
we're talking about a very small amount of calls. So some of that information you got from the firefighters and from the opposition is just plain false, just plain wrong. And so I'd like you guys to look at real data, and I wish I could have presented that last week. So, all right?
Ms. Brenner?
Could you give us the names of the people from the fire districts you talked to?
Yeah, District 1 Chief is Mel Blankers, and then District 14 is Jerry DeBruin.
Okay.
And then I forget the chief down at Big Lake, but I got some phone calls into him as well. So, and they, like any good chief will do, they will not take a political stance. They say, you know, we won't, I wouldn't do that either. But they will tell you what they are for, which they are for better locating services, better access, more of a organized system. So they seem very, very positive towards it. One of the things we do, when we do have new developments, whether it's residential, is fire departments, we often give what we call a will serve letter. And that would be something I'd be willing to work with the fire districts to be able to get a letter of some kind that says, if a plan goes through, they will be able to provide services, fire EMS services for those plans.
Thank you.
I think they'd be very willing to do that, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't necessarily planning on speaking. I'm Jason Lautenbach, Lautenbach, and I am on the committee down at Walker, and I'm actually supposed to be there now, but I chose to come here instead. I know we were planning some deals down there, but I sent another guy in our club to go down and take my spot. I just want to say that we need to get something in Whatcom County that's fun to do for all ages, all, you know, I got lots of neighbors that ride in my neighborhood because there's no place to ride. And I mean, they're riding on the street, and that shouldn't be. But, so we'd like to get a place for them to ride. So we'd like to ask you to ask DNR to come back and give you a better presentation with somebody knowledgeable in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Chris Dykstra. I wasn't actually planning on talking either. I'm new to the sport for ORVing, and I've been trying to find a place that I can go in Whatcom County. Usually me and my group of about 5 other families, we stick to Skagit County because it's got official, well-documented and mapped out riding areas. I've gone to Sumas Mountain once, and it took us about 2 hours to get out because we got lost and we only had one person who knew the mountain. So I'm hoping you guys will invite the DNR back and consider it so that we can have a better place to ride up here, since about 4 of the families that I actually do ride live in Sumas, and they have to travel over an hour to ride with me.
Hello, my name is Bill Dodinga. I'm a member of the Rainier Ridge Rams 4-Wheel Drive Club. We have about 40 members, and that's just the Jeeps and trucks. There's still, you know, a lot of other motorcycle clubs and ATV clubs also. I was going to talk about the some of the issues that the people had that were neighbors there. I believe that we can work out those issues, that the area is big enough on the top of Sumas Mountain that it's separated far enough from the Columbia Valley where all the people live. So I think that a condensed, controlled area is better than the current spread out, less controlled area that we have now. I think people are just riding wherever they can get to, and that's the noise that people are hearing. And we plan an area that is far enough away from those people that that noise would not be an issue. And then also he was right about the fire issue. One other thing I noticed that people were bringing up issues like the California wildfires, and we don't have those high winds in the summer when it's really hot, and it's just a whole different climate here than Eastern Washington where those fires are that you see on the news. So I think that any fires that start up here would be far enough away that they would get them out before anything, spread down to the valley where the people live. Because we just don't have the type of climate where those fires are. And then, so I wanted to ask you to invite the DNR back and to hear the presentation from them regarding all the work that they have done. There's still, several years in the process yet, but they've been working on this some. The reason they came early before they had a complete plan was we wanted to see if you would lift the ban so that we could, continue with the process. We didn't want to do all this process and then find out that the ban was never going to be lifted. We wanted to, get a little bit of information together and then see if you'd be interested in allowing an ORV area. And then we would go and get more detailed plans, if it looked like it was going to be, the ban was going to be lifted. So that's why it looks like, we didn't just come in the last minute and try to get it passed or anything. So if you could contact Glenn Glover from the DNR and see if he would come out to do some presentation for you, and then and our club would be able to come out and also
30 seconds, please.
And then answer any questions, and we would be willing to work with all the neighbors in the area to make an area that worked for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else interested in open session? Come on down.
My name is Kathy with a K, McDevitt, McDevitt, and I happen to be on the wrong side. I am from Birch Bay, but I'm over here. But actually, I'm representing myself in a different matter. I am glad that Birch Bay is a very attractive place. I moved there about 5.5 years ago, and I have a small house that I enjoy very much. But I'm having a little difficulty with a situation in the neighborhood. The trailer next door to my property has become an Airbnb or short-term rental, vacation rental. And over the period of, it's almost 2 years now, 1.5, 2 years, I have had many instances where I had to prevail upon the fire department, the police, and the water department to take care of this property in one way or another, because the owner is not living in our neighborhood or in our community. The owners live in another country. And that's not relevant, except it's a little far away. So I would like some direction or help. I think it is a business that is next to my house, and the guests at that rental property sometimes burn in the fire pit during times when we had a complete burn ban. And I feel like the Wicked Witch next door, because I have to keep saying, please be sure to put out the fire. They left it burning at night. I had to sleep out. My bedroom and my trees and my shed are right next, within 10 feet of their fire pit. And I cannot relax thinking that in the droughts that we've had in the last couple of years, there are embers burning and fire still alive. And so I just didn't want the fire department to wake the guests who may be from other parts of this country, and they may be here to enjoy themselves on vacation. I didn't want them to have to wake up at midnight to the fire truck.
30 seconds, please.
So things like that. I find it very hard to deal with this. I think every month there's something that the water pipe broke and the water was cascading out. I could hear it. I'm the only one who could hear it. I called the water department. They came and turned it off. The owner had wanted it left on, but he will not allow me to communicate with him. And I'm kind of frustrated, to tell you the truth. Thank you.
If anybody else would like to speak in open session to make sure Patrick doesn't get the last words?
You waited all this time to be the last speaker.
Now somebody's going to get I think
Patrick Allisey, this is, you can hear me, okay? I'll eat the microphone. 4825 Alderson Road, Birch Bay.
Did
I'm
you
gonna
bring
go on
chocolates?
What? No, I didn't bring chocolate. I've been putting coffee and chocolate together.
Okay.
I'm going to start in a big circle. I usually do that anyhow, but I'm just warning you ahead of time. And it starts in New York State because I get back there now and then. I was there a couple years ago at Wanakina. It's a little place. And it had a store, and it didn't take any wick stuff. I said, why not? Well, I talked to the manager, and I called New York State and talked about it. Now, it's a rural area. We're going to get back to this. Remember, it's a rural area. And it really boiled down to the store is now closed. Not because of me, but it's just awfully hard to service people out in rural areas. You want to know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, and WIC. And RVs that were motor powered. And I did see one was at the yesterday, the other day, on Blaine Road. As I was leaving Birch Bay, it was like, I got around them. So they're there, they're on the roads. You hear from these guys, oh, they're right next to, well, we won't mention that. They say, oh, the fire departments can take care of it. It's out of their district. In other words, the fire departments get stuck taking care of things, and they don't really have the facilities. And the last time they spoke was 2 weeks ago, and I got up and I said, hey, right at near BP, east side, it is all area that you can run around on, make loud noises with vehicles. You should build a park there for these guys. It could be done by private enterprise, keep WIC public. And they could have a hell of a good time out there. And that could handle it. Oh, and let me point out to you as a tax base, the tax base for BP is tremendous. You hear from these people, they're always telling you how great they are. Well, they pay into Fire 7, and that tax base money could help take care of the RVers that are flying over the hills just east of the BP refinery. So that's what should be worked on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? I got it all?
No.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Not seeing anybody else coming down for open session. I'd like to thank everybody who took the time to come here today. And with that, we will move on to other items. Starting with things with no committee assignments. We have an ordinance amending Whatcom County Code 9.44.030, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare, which is on page 82 in our packet. And this kind of came up at the very end of our last meeting. Do we have anybody?
Why are we doing this?
Well, I think it's explained in the ordinance. This came from Warren Page, who is the Assistant Criminal Chief Deputy he is in charge of district court in our office. And this is a crime that gets charged very rarely, and the punishment is disproportionate to the violation. And so he asked that you consider an ordinance reducing the penalty from a misdemeanor to an infraction. So it will be a monetary penalty. It won't carry with it the possibility of jail time anymore.
Mr. Berg?
I mean, I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, Ms. Brenner?
I would just, I mean, it's fine to say rarely. I would like to know how many times this has ever even been used in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Well, that's the only thing
right.
I'd like to know before we even work on this at all.
Mr. Buchanan?
Yes, having played rock and roll music all my life in bands and garages, and with Warren Page, actually, when I was in middle school, I can appreciate, I've been through this whole rigmarole one time with a noise complaint, and it's very, it's just too intense for what you're doing. So thank you, Warren, for bringing this forward. I appreciate it. Thank you for it.
Thank you.
Ms. Brenner?
What if it's never been used? How do we know? I just want to know the amount.
It does get used occasionally, and that's the problem. When it does get used, I'm sure,
okay,
it
I'll
gets
trust
reduced,
you.
so.
But I don't like doing it without having the number.
But Ms. Frakes, for the public's benefit here, this was an introduction item, and we got it like 1:30 in the morning 2 weeks ago, and we didn't know really, it was the very end of our pack. So there's not been any real discussion.
We don't need a discussion. It's like nothing. Just do it.
We're talking about, I don't think most people know what we're talking about.
Occasionally, those things happen. I've had similar situations where we've made minor adjustments to codes, and I don't know why you didn't get it until 1:30 in the morning.
Well, no, it was in our pack. It was in our pack. We just didn't have time to talk about it.
Right. Anytime that something comes up that involves criminal charges, I think you can assume it came from my office, and so please feel free to ask me questions, and I can find the answers for you.
No, I'm just trying to get out into the public what we are voting on.
Right, it's just the penalty.
Class 2 civil infraction.
But people aren't reading this one.
It is changing the penalty for basically a violation of a noise ordinance from a misdemeanor, which carries with it the possibility, it's been a long time since I did criminal law, but up to 90 days in jail, I think. And yes. And changes it to an infraction, which is a monetary penalty only.
Right. I just wanted to get that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Okay, we got it.
Just for the record, a Class 2 penalty under RCW 7.80.120 is a maximum of $125, not including statutory assessments. So a Class 1 would be up to $500, Class 2 is $125, and a Class 3 penalty is $50. So I think that after I've read it over and have looked at it, I think that this is a reasonable way to go. If law enforcement goes out, they can give them a $125 civil penalty. It'll save a lot of processing time and a lot of worry with it. Although at $125, there may be people in a state of mind at 1 o'clock in the morning that really aren't going to care a whole lot, but it will give us the ability to get it taken care of and to move people through there. So I would encourage passage of this.
I was going to say, let the record show that he was looking at Councilmember Buchanan when he mentioned
Yes,
that.
I was.
Ms. Brenner.
Hey, I've got a question. What if they don't pay it?
Well, then they get into the statutory assessments and penalties down the road if they don't do that.
What if they don't pay any of them?
We have that problem in a lot of different ends of it. We write off a lot of dollars.
Right, it's not quite like the civil infractions we impose as a county. This goes through the district court, and it does get sent to collections, and,
We know how good that is.
Well, I mean,
you know what?
you can't.
I'm going to support it. I move
Yeah,
approval.
okay, thanks.
I get it.
We have a motion and a second. All right, this is a roll call vote.
Yes. Tim Ballou,
Yes.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes 5-0. Right?
Well, you can ask me
Oh,
too.
Mr. Brown.
Rudd Brown,
I vote in the affirmative.
That
Can't you
passes.
just say yes?
That passes 6-0, with Mr. Sadoo excused. Okay. Our next item is a request, confirmation of the county executive's appointment of Mark Personius to Planning and Development Services as Director, effective March 26, 2008, pursuant to Whatcom County Code Section 2.32 AB 2018-093. And Mr. Laus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my privilege tonight to introduce to you Mark Personius. Mark has worked for Planning and Development Services since 2012. He began as the Division Manager in Long Range Planning and then served as the Assistant Director since 2015. Prior to working with Whatcom County, Mark worked as an independent growth management consultant as well as the Planning Director for Earth Tech from 1994 to 2002. He has 7 years of additional experience in the state of Florida. Mark possesses all of the right credentials to be a planning director for Whatcom County. And with the unanimous support of the BIA, the Realtors Association, and Sustainable Connection members who served on the hiring panel, along with the Public Works Director, our Health Department Director, and the Human Resources Manager, they unanimously recommended to me his appointment as Planning Director for the Whatcom County Planning and Development Services Department. And I would ask for your confirmation of that tonight, and if you so choose to do that, possibly you'd entertain Mark coming up. I told him to keep it below 45 minutes. If you
I look forward to it. Do we have
maybe
a-
that was 4 to 5 minutes, or
I
maybe
look
that
forward
was
to a
maybe
motion.
that was
I move to
45 to 50
confirm.
seconds.
If he would stop, I'll move to
We have
confirm.
a motion to confirm. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. This is a voice vote. Excuse me. Councilmember Brenner moved and Councilmember Buchanan seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think I heard that too. That passes 6-0. And Mark, if you'd like to come up and say, congratulations and thank you.
Or maybe we should say condolences.
Knock on wood. I just wanted to say that I was told that if I kept my my speech really short, I might win a jet ski. So,
Yeah.
but really, all I have to say, Council, is thank you, and I really appreciate your confidence in me, and I'm looking forward to working here for a long time, and I look forward to coming to work every day, most days.
We'll keep it interesting.
And I really look forward to and enjoy the time we have together. So, and I look forward to making that even better in the future. So, thank you.
Congratulations. And thank you.
Congrats, Mark. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything.
Okay. Next item is request authorization for county executive to enter into a contract between Whatcom County and Compass Health to provide mental health service treatment, health treatment services to the youth age 13 to 24 who utilize the services of Northwest Youth Services in the amount of $44,330. Is there a motion?
Approval.
We have a simultaneous motions approval
We did it together.
by Buchanan and Brenner. Let's just say it was Buchanan was first.
Okay.
Brenner seconded.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on this?
No.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 6-0. We have one more item without a committee assignment. Request authorization for the county executive to enter into a contract between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife to receive a federal EPA National Estuary Program funds to support the Lower Nooksack River floodplain integrated planning in the amount of $750,000, with the council acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors.
I move approval.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve. Moved to approve by Brenner, second by Buchanan. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 6-0.
I would like us to get more of those funds.
Yes. Right. Paul, you stuck around for all that? No, we couldn't. Okay.
Oh, it's good.
We're good? No,
That
good,
was
thanks.
nice.
It's all good. Okay, now introduction items. I have to read all of these.
No, you don't.
No, I don't? Ooh,
I move
okay.
approval of all the introduction
There are
items.
8 introduction items that are in our packets from page 130 to page 192 for people reading along at home.
I move approval.
Councilmember Brenner moves approval. I think Councilmember Buchanan has already seconded.
I know I have not.
Oh, no,
but
okay.
But I would.
Because we're getting into a pattern.
I'm gonna let Tyler have a shot at it.
All right.
I gave up.
Because they're on.
They're on it.
They're like a band.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilmember Berg seconds. For these 8 introduction items, any discussion of those? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. That passes 6-0, and those are introduced. Committee reports. The first report we had, I got to flip back, Criminal Justice and Public Safety, Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This afternoon, we met as the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee, and we looked at some of the marketing materials and potential survey questions that we're going to be using for our listening tour, which we'll be gathering input from all the citizens of Whatcom County on what our criminal justice system is going to look like and what our new jail is going to look like. We're close to publishing a schedule, very close, probably in the next couple of days, and that's end of the report.
All right, thank you. Next committee is Natural Resources, which I was chairing that one. We had a presentation by Planning and Development Services about mineral resource lands designation processes and gave some direction to staff and are going to get appraised on that. Public Works staff provided a presentation on the pollution identification and control program regarding Jordan Creek and Leunnie Bay, and we are hoping that we can keep that from getting shut down, but downgraded. We'll see how that goes. And we had the annual report of the Public Works Natural Resource folks, and that was great. That would be Natural Resources, I know this acronym, SCOTW, Special Committee of the Whole. Yeah, I know that, I'm getting there. We had a very brief Special Committee of the Whole meeting after the Natural Resources Committee discussing how we would proceed with the Cascadia Law Group's report and trying to get that crafted into a potential ordinance. And I think there was no motions or votes, but the decision was that we would try to continue to work with them and hope that there's still funds available for them to help craft an ordinance.
That wasn't unanimous.
It wasn't a vote, we weren't all here.
Well,
it'll come to a vote that won't be
yeah,
unanimous.
okay.
Committee of the Whole then moved to executive session to discuss litigation in terms of the Washington Farm Bureau versus Whatcom County Growth Management Hearings Board case 18-2-0001, where we are appraised of issues going on with that. I think that's about as much as I can say about executive session.
That was good.
It was quick. We were only in there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. Okay, other items. Councilmember Brett.
Okay. I got an email from this couple out on Leunnie Island, and according to them, by moving the ferry, what do you call it, terminal out there, they're being told that they have to allow their property and their home for 5 or 10 years to be an option to be used by the county, which the county would pay for. We don't do that. So I don't understand this letter, and it's very concerning to me. We've never forced people out of their homes.
John Hutchings, Public Works Department. You know, there has been a conversation going on with between the Leunnie Nation and Whatcom County and the community of Leunnie Island about level of service for the Leunnie Island Ferry, and that includes trying to find mutually beneficial solutions for the system as a whole. And in as part of that conversation, there have been some introductory discussions with the homeowners who live directly adjacent, I guess, just to the north of the existing ferry dock, about the prospect of potentially in the future willing seller, willing buyer.
That's not what she.
Well, apparently she misunderstood the purpose. Or they did, misunderstood the purpose. And I would love to get hold of these people personally.
I'd like to meet with you when you meet with them or talk to them.
Actually, that's probably not appropriate, since we'll be talking about property transactions, which you will eventually need to vote on.
Well, they already contacted me about it. I don't think they.
Well, let's have that conversation going forward.
Okay, because they're not talking about maybe possibility this or that. They're saying that they've been told this. And they got a second letter saying this.
What they got was a second letter asking for a meeting, in which we would actually, which the intention, of course, is to open a dialogue between the county and the homeowners about.
That's fine.
Prospects off into the future,
If
5 or 10
they
years
want me to be at
out.
the meeting, can I be at the meeting?
Certainly.
Okay. I'll talk to them.
That's the answer.
So, do you have the information there?
I've got the letter. I can make another copy. You can have that.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's very sad.
And for people interested in the general ferry service issues, there's a public meeting on the island tomorrow, 6 o'clock, I think. The ferry service meeting on the island tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder, because that is absolutely relevant, that tomorrow is it at the Grange Hall?
I think it's at the school.
Or is it at the school? It's at the school.
Yeah.
The community will be having an open meeting about this discussion about the level of service, and there will be a presentation by the consultant that we have retained to help, on your behalf, help the Lummi Island Ferry Committee get to resolution of that and bring a recommendation back to the council by this fall. So there's a lot of forward momentum there. It's been a positive conversation, and we'll see where it all gets. But got some big decisions to make.
Yeah, that's smart.
Thank you.
Other items? We have another item. There's another item. There's a draft of a letter going around that people should have copies of. This comes, that's the whole thing. The health department and Deacon is trying to get kind of consistent message from the executive, from the council, from the Incarceration Reduction Prevention Task Force, making a statement about the funding mechanisms for the triage center. And I'm sure everybody has had time to read this as it's going around.
I haven't. This is the first time I've seen it.
Yeah, but it is, the timing on this is pretty short because the request for proposals from insurance companies is out, and I think there's a consensus that the county is better served having a model where we are funding it not on a, not on a per diem basis, but on an operating cost basis.
What's an MCO?
Managed care organization.
Yeah.
What?
Managed care organizations.
Oh.
So I think, I guess I'll look to the clerks over here. We can just approve this as is, or we can give the council chair the discretion to sign it after some time reading it. I think the executive has said he's willing to sign a similar letter. It's basically just to get as many voices communicating to the folks putting in requests for.
So you can amend the letter tonight if you like, because there's a time deadline on it. Probably council vice chair should sign it right away.
It is that time sensitive. Okay. And I basically told Ann I trust her to write it. So. Ms. Brenner and then Mr. Lutz.
Oh, I trust Ann too. I want to take time to read this thing, and I don't want to just rush through it tonight. Sorry. Were we supposed to have had this before now?
We just got it. Yeah.
Okay, so
She's been pretty
it's not,
rushed.
yeah. I don't want to do it tonight.
Okay, but I could.
I want to ask some people some
Would we need a
stuff.
motion for me to sign it tomorrow? After council members review it?
That would be fine if you make a motion that if a quorum of the council agrees, I guess I could poll everybody tomorrow and make sure that there were 4 of you that agreed. Or you could take a vote tonight, whatever.
Can I finish it? I'm not going to have time to, I mean, I'm leaving town in the morning, so, but why is it got to be like tomorrow?
I don't know what the time constraints are on this letter. Jack, do you know when this has to be sent out?
Well, I just got it myself this afternoon, and it became critical, and Ann Deacon is recommending that we move this forward. What I will say is that I've voiced my concern throughout the process of building an additional 16 beds on our triage center, that the capital construction costs are probably the easiest for us to obtain, but the ongoing funding for it is going to be critical. And with having 32 beds within our system, we need to do everything that we can to make sure that the feds and the state continue to fund the operations, because that's something that we're not going to be able to be saddled with on an ongoing basis very easily. It's going to be at the expense of other programs if they don't provide those monies. So, you know, the meat of this letter is at the very end of the first paragraph, where it says capital funds for this project have been secured, and it's critical that full funding for the operations are also in place. And what this letter does is encourage the managed care organizations in the state and everybody is to put as long-term of a commitment that they can for the funding together. So I plan tomorrow morning on my letterhead to take maybe a slightly modified version of what we have here, sign the letter and get it off. And Deputy Executive, I think that Ms. Deacon would like to get that letter out here in the next few days for some funding deadlines that are at the state that I'm not 100% aware of. But I'm going to sign the letter. I would encourage the council to sign one. Also, I know the timing is late. Actually, I got the letter standing right here and was briefed by Tyler that this came through this afternoon. But I have trust in my staff that when they ask for something like this, they're asking it for a good reason. And I've read the letter, and I think that it's fully appropriate for us to encourage those above us to fully fund the operations of the facility. So enough said by me, but I would encourage the council as a majority to authorize the vice chair to sign some form of this letter tomorrow, just as an encouragement for this full funding.
Ms. Brenner.
Are these managed care organizations public or private? Who's going to make the decision of who they'll be? I mean, this is like a blank check, kind of.
You know, you're getting in over my head, and I'm afraid that I'm going to be answering something wrong. So I'm going to defer to who the managed care organization is. All I know is the monies that we're getting is coming through the behavioral health organization, which is the five-county region. That's where this is going to go. The state actually, from my understanding of it, is established who the managed care organizations are. But you know, right now in our existing facility, we have Pioneer and Catholic Community Services. One runs the detox portion of it, and one runs the mental health portion of it, and that's fun. You know, the funding pass-through comes through Whatcom County. I sign the contracts. You approve them. And they run our facility at this particular time. How that all shakes out down the road when we go to 32 beds, I don't fully understand at this particular time. I don't know. I'd be more than happy to have Ms. Deacon show up in a couple of weeks to give you a better and a fully detailed breakdown of it. With that said, asking for full funding to operate the facility, I think, is very appropriate at this time.
Ms. Brenner.
Well, I think this deserves us to wait for Ann to come and talk to us, and I don't know what difference 2 weeks is gonna make. It's not clear to me. It's making me uncomfortable, that's all. I don't care.
I think the timeline is the process of, and maybe Tyler, you can correct me on this because this is all above my pay grade, but the process of who is going to be responding to the requests for proposals for funding is going on right now. And we want to make sure that in that process, we're saying clearly that we want the triage facility and detox units to be, for their operational costs, to be fully funded, not to be funded on like a per diem use basis.
I understand that.
But
I really do. I'm just saying that it is like a blank check, and I'm not comfortable doing it this evening, that's all. I mean, it might turn out to be just perfect, everything might be fine, but this is like completely funding stuff, and we don't know who, I mean, those two organizations sound really good, but I can't imagine they're gonna be the only ones, and who makes the decision of who?
Mr. Buchanan.
I can appreciate Councilmember Brenner's concern, but I also trust the Health Department's judgment on this and the executive's judgment on this. So I would move, we authorize council member, our acting chair tonight to sign this letter.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, and I will say, I share Ms. Brenner's sort of, this is happening fairly quickly, although we have, Ms. Deacon has been talking about this with the Incarceration Reduction Prevention Task Force. We need a shorter name for that.
Yeah, but not this specific stuff to us.
Yeah, but we're not signing on to any funding agreement. We're trying to protect the county's position in these discussions about how this will be funded. So it's a...
Well, it seems like we kind of are. We're giving it that, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna keep arguing about it.
Well, we have a...
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Brown?
Yes, I've spoken to Ann Deacon about this, and I'm also comfortable with proceeding.
No, I'm not, and I haven't spoken to
You said you are comfortable.
I am comfortable proceeding with the letter.
Okay. Ms. Brenner?
How did Councilmember Brown know to speak to Ann Deacon about this beforehand, when none of us saw this beforehand?
Because I'm the representative of the council on the North Sound Behavioural Health Group.
Well, that's nice.
And I travel with Ms. Deacon to go down to the meeting, so we talk about issues that are coming up.
Okay, so Mr.
Just
Billy.
really quick, I understand the frustration of the letter coming in at a short notice, but I also, after working with and listening to providers for services, specifically for the opiate problem, that a number one need in our area is access to medical detox, and I support the increased activities at the triage center, and also planning for a larger facility. When talking to, and all the services aren't as organized as they could be in the area, but the number one thing that our area needs the most of is more beds for medical detox, and if this helps us get to that, I support that.
Ms. Brenner.
Well, I actually agree with everything you just said. My problem is, what if this isn't the most cost-effective way to do it? And I don't know anything about it. That's all. I want to make sure that our money goes the furthest it can possibly go, because we have such a need. So I'm agreeing with you, and I'm saying that's why I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about here, and I don't.
I 100% agree with Mrs. Brenner, or Ms. Brenner's statement. I'm curious, I don't fully understand the process at this point with this letter. I mean, we're submitting this letter, or we're not, from what I can tell, approving money. We're just asking them to fully fund something. Is there a budget that's been put in place that they're funding, or a program, or will there be more process after this that we'll be moving into?
Tyler Schroeder, Deputy Executive. Yeah, this is the first letter to engage the MCOs, the Healthcare Authority, about what that transition looks like. It's going to come up in 19 and 20. There's been a lot of dialogue at North Sound Behavioral Health Organization in regards to that transition. And so what we're asking for is we want to ensure that there's going to be fully funded not on the per diem style, the day by day, bed by bed, but more on the annual fully funded so that we have assurances that we can continue to operate the new crisis triage facility. This is just the first of that conversation. We'll come back after the letter's been sent by Executive Laus and hopefully from council and continue to engage the council on the details as it relates to it.
Ms. Brenner.
But engaging us is one thing. Do we get another bite at this as a vote ourselves?
Yes.
You hesitated, so what?
You'll get another bite at the opportunity to budget and accept Medicaid dollars to operate the crisis triage facility, and hopefully the council will do that, accept the federal dollars to operate the new
Oh, I have no
expanded
problem with
triage.
that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this seems to me like we're kind of saying, these are the ones who are gonna do it, but I don't know who they are, except for the two that were mentioned.
And I can understand that, and that has to do with the transition that there's been a lot of conversations about with North Sound Behavioral Health to the MCOs. There is some uncertainty of how that plays out and what happens. We want to be on the front side of that conversation. We want to be engaging those entities to ensure that they're going to be fully funding this type of facility into the future. This letter helps us start that conversation with them so that we can have that commitment as we move forward with the capital project. That's how we see it. Apologies for the late term. There was conversations at the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force. Ann Deacon was working on not only the capital side of it, but also this operation and a letter. And Executive Laus will be sending it forward. And again, I hope that the council does the same.
So we have a motion to have council authorization or approval to have the vice chair sign this letter to the Washington State Medical Aid Director, the Healthcare Authority, about trying to encourage whatever the funding model comes out of this to have this fully funded in terms of its operations, not just on a per diem basis. We had a motion and a second. Any more discussion, Ms. Brenner?
Where does the word encourage, where is that here?
I just threw that in there.
Well, that's not in the letter.
Well, we're not able to tell them to do anything, right? We're trying to ask them to protect us in terms of our financial position in running this thing. I use encourage because we're really suggesting, recommending, encouraging, asking them for a better position. They can go a different way. I was right.
Wasn't me.
I know. Any more discussion? Mr. Berg?
Tyler, the funds are passed through. We're going to get the funds from the feds or the state. Okay.
That's how they're proportioned out, that we're trying to encourage them to do it in a way that works better for us. Ms. Brenner?
It's not about where the funds are coming from. I'm thrilled that we're gonna get money. My concern is I wanna make sure that we spend it the most efficient way for the best services. And this doesn't convince me of anything, so I'm just gonna abstain. I was gonna vote no, but now I'll just abstain.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote.
Yes.
All those in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Aye, or yes.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstain.
Aye.
So that is 5 in favor with Councilmember Brenner abstaining and Mr. Sadoo absent. Excuse me.
And this, I hope this never happens again, by the way.
Okay. Any other items? Other items? Okay. Councilmember updates?
I don't have an update, but I realized that at my first surface water session, and earlier today, I believe it was Erica made the announcement twice that the Drayton Harbor and Birch Bay shellfish bed closures were removed. They were not downgraded, but reopened up by Department of Health. And we didn't at either two sessions acknowledge that. So just to the natural resource staff and Mr. Personius, that I know a lot of collaboration needed to happen for that to work. It wasn't just the work of the county, but the county was involved in that. And I think that's a huge accomplishment. Erica said it was 10 years that it took for those 2 beds to be reopened. Probably another hopefully not as long, 10 years for the Portage Bay shellfish beds, and a good presentation of preventing that from happening at Leunnie Bay. And it's just to be acknowledged and definitely deserves a celebration.
I knew you were going to say that.
Celebration.
I think they have one planned. All right.
But otherwise, it was good news and to be noted.
Okay. I got nothing. Okay. All right. With that, I think we are ready to adjourn.
Let's do it.
All right, adjourned.
I'll just